What's up guys, it's Kuroyuki ESO here, and today I'm just gonna show you guys the Stamina Templar build that I've been running so far for the Harrowstorm patch, and I will probably continue to run for the rest of the Harrowstorm patch because I really like it. It's not super meta. I don't think I've seen anyone running it exactly this way before, but it's not like super duper off meta either. It's strong, it's tanky, it's got enough damage, and I enjoy playing it, so yeah, I'm going to share it with you guys. And to go ahead and kickstart this, we're going to just take a quick look at the stat sheet. Here on the front bar, we've got 5k weapon damage, 1600 recovery, 31,000 and a half stam, 25,000 health, and 10.5k magicka. Resistances are not super high, but they're high enough, especially when we take a look at the sets. We have a lot of damage mitigation with this build. We are a Nord, and we are using the Warrior Boon with our Tame Takeaway Broth as the food. Don't hate on my takeaway broth. I know a lot of people are dropping this, but I really like it. So that we got that out of the way, we're just going to go ahead and jump in with the armor sets here. First of all, we are running agility. We're running 3-piece agility. We've got an agility maul, Nirnhoned, with a weapon damage enchantment on it. You could run poison here or some other enchantment, but I like this because when you need to turn around, you can just do a quick smack, get that weapon damage up, and poke the shit out of people, or hit them with a Dawnbreaker, whatever you're gonna do. It's nice. It's not up all the time, it's not infused, but it's up often enough, and it really does help get out that extra burst. This knocks us up to about 5.5 thousand weapon damage when it's procced, sending us to almost 6k with continuous attack, which is really nice. Backbar weapon is agility again, axe, Nirnhoned, and shield with M-Pen. You could do M-Pen, sturdy, or reinforced. Those are the best 3 options. I prefer M-Pen right now, at least. And then we do have double damage poison on the sword, the one-handed. You could use escapist poison or any other poison that you like, but I like double dots for this build. Our monster set is Bloodspawn. Bloodspawn's great. Recovery, armor, tank ability, increase, ult generation, everything you would ever really want. Probably the best monster set in the game. Everyone knows that already though. Then our main 5-piece is Ancient Dragon Guard. This is a really good set. Gives us some health, weapon damage, crit, and then a lot more weapon damage. Not as much as some other sets, but a pretty good amount. And then when you drop below 50% health, you trade that weapon damage for physical and spell resistance. This may not sound too super strong, but it is really nice. When you drop below 50% health, you get an extra 5% damage mitigation, so you become a lot harder to kill. And our heals, even with that lack of weapon damage, are still very high, so we're gonna get bumped right back up to high weapon damage immediately after. Some people prefer sets like New Moon Acolyte, whatever else have you, I don't know, Fury, Titanborn, you could use any of those. But if you used something like Fury, you would have to run this in heavy because of the way we have it set up, and that's not ideal. Any of the medium sets or craftable sets, though, work great with this build. This is the one that I prefer, though, and I've been using it for a while, and I really like it. So we do have the heavy chest and light belt for 511 with max resists here. Everything else is medium. We've got the rest of the Ancient Dragon Guard. Now, I do have 1 triglyph and 2 stam glyphs on the big pieces because I don't need that extra health and I don't need that extra magicka. I'm just trying to push out a little bit more damage with a little bit of extra stam. If you want to do more triglyphs, you can. You can mix it up however you want to, really, but this is just the way I'm running my glyphs because it gives me the stats that I think are the most optimal. Now we're going to come down here to the jewelry. This is where our 3rd piece of agility is, with infused weapon damage. And then 2 Potentates jewelry because the 2-piece of Potentates is strong. Reduce your damage taken from players by 5%. Most of you know about this already. Very strong 2-piece, very strong indeed. Lots of tank ability. We keep this up on both bars since it's with our jewelry, so even when we're on the front bar, we're taking a lot less damage. With that being said, a lot of people like to backbar this, but I prefer it this way because while agility isn't as good as some damage sets, being able to have our damage set and our defensive set both double barred keeps our healing high as well as our defense high, instead of sacrificing the extra weapon damage or, you know, healing power from the weapon damage just to be tankier on the back bar. Because Vigor keeps the tooltip from whatever bar you casted it on. So if we were to sacrifice a damage set by having Potentate's backbarred, our Vigor would probably be more around 18-19k instead of what it is. And speaking of Vigor, let's go ahead and jump right on into the skills. We're going to start here on the back bar. So there it is, Vigor. I'm sitting at 21.25k unbuffed. Buff up real quick. 25,000 Vigor. This is next to a friendly objective in PvP, so we get the 20% healing boost. You're probably going to have them in most fights anyway, so this is what you're looking at. You buff up with continuous, buff up with your weapon damage enchant, you're probably looking at like a 28-ish K, 29 even. Vigor tooltip, I haven't actually tested that number, but it's pretty high. And this stays high because we have our damage set on both bars. Now, a Fury build, or a Fury New Moon build, will probably get this a little bit higher when Fury is fully stacked, but that's not available at all times, and I prefer to have my stuff front-loaded and ready when I need it. Next skill is Elude. This gives us 25% AoE damage reduction, as well as when we take damage from a direct AoE attack, we get Major Expedition for 5 seconds. This makes us quick. Alright, quick. That's very important. I used to run with Shuffle and Channeled Acceleration. That was really fun, but it's really hard to manage buffs in this lag right now, so having just this one that can do both is really nice. You could keep Shuffle if you want to, and have some other form of movement speed, but I prefer this because while, yes, it does not get rid of snares, the movement speed almost negates most snares, and when you are not snared, you're zipping around the battlefield at light speed. Next skill is Restoring Focus. This gives us our armor buff as well as a nice fat sustain buff, about 500 extra stamina recovery. Then we have Extended Ritual, 4600 mag, meaning we can cast this twice with our mag pool, which is just enough. Having the extra mag, like I mentioned earlier, is entirely unnecessary because we're not going to be able to cast this 3 times just with the Triglyphs alone. So that's why I don't run any extra magic. Cast it twice, I can pot, I can wait, that's enough. Next skill is our main stun, Reverberating Bash. Now hear me out on this one. It has taken a little bit of a hit since its old legendary days of Defile, but what it does now is have an 11k tooltip. This thing really hurts. If you light attack Reverberating Bash into a regular bash, do that nice weave, that's 3 chances to proc your back bar double dot poison. If that happens, both of those damages instantly tick in that first hit, and that makes a very, very, very heavy burst from just this one stun. If someone's at like 75%, 50% HP and you hit them with this, they're going to be really hurting. It's probably my favorite stun in the game at the moment, for that reason alone. Our back bar ultimate is Temporal Guard. Most people know what this does already. You can go back in time, get back health, stamina, magic, break some ankles, eat yourself out of danger, do whatever you want with it. It's fun, it's cool looking, and it gives you minor protection, reducing damage by 8% while on your back bar. Now Templar does get minor protection passively, but it's not always up because you do have to activate it, and sometimes you just can't do that. So that's why I like to have Temporal Guard on the back bar right now. Now swapping over to the front bar, we're going to go over here. Rally is our first skill. This is our burst heal, our weapon damage buff, and a slight stamina recovery buff. Very nice. Probably the strongest support skill in the game right now. All you Stam boys already know what this does. Don't need to explain it. Power of the Light. Yeah, this goes boom. You put it on somebody, poke them a lot, beat the crap out of them, and then it beats the crap out of them a little bit more by exploding in their face. It also reduces their armor by just a little bit, and yeah, it let you beat them up even worse. Now, Razor Caltrops. This is the one where people start to lift some eyebrows at me. So let me go ahead and defend this skill. Lots of people don't really understand why this is so useful on classes like Stamplar right now. Stamplar just took a little bit of a hit, Templar in general, by losing the snare from Extended Ritual through the Templar passives. And while some people don't really look at that as a big deal, I do. I love that. I like to run away from people and drop it behind me as I'm running, because it slows them down and lets me run away faster. It's super useful, but now it's gone. So, with this, we have that, but even stronger. This is 50% instead of 30%. But, it gets better. It's a dot. Very tiny dot. The dot is actually irrelevant, but I thought I'd bring it up. The real beef is the fact that, like it says on the bottom, enemies who take damage from the Caltrops have major fracture applied to them, reducing their physical resistance by that number for 4 seconds. This is up for 10 seconds, so if they take damage for all 10 seconds, that's 14 seconds of being debuffed. Now the fun part about that is that this is a ground-based AoE attack, meaning that if you're fighting someone that cleanses, be it a Templar, a Necromancer, or an annoying Warden who's spamming Netch, this is going to reapply 2 dots immediately every time, so it keeps up the pressure pretty good. And it keeps everyone armor debuffed. That's the important thing. Slow, debuffed, kind of hard to get out of, especially in a tight area like an IC or tower fight. This is great. You just hit a whole group with this, they're slowed, slap them with a Dawnbreaker, they fall over, you start poking them, they die. Powered light goes off, boom, someone's dead. It's a good combo. Executioner, this is totally optional for you. I like to run with it. It is our execute. It does a lot of damage to people at low health. I usually use it against people that try to block at low health, because it'll still chunk their health pretty good even though they've got the block up, unless they're like actually healing, which odds are they're not most of the time. If all they're doing to deal with your pressure is blocking, they're not healing most likely. And then biting jabs. This is for the guys that instead of blocking, they start rolling. It's also your primary spammable, but I also love it as an execute for those roly-polies. It's AoE, does a lot of damage. If I buff up, it's at about a, 4.5 by 4, 18k tooltip over a second. So yeah, it hits very, very hard. Has a chance to proc Burning Light for even more damage. The Burning Light passive in itself is kind of ridiculous. Let's take a look at that. 6,298 damage. Where'd it go? Almost 7,000 damage. Just kind of passively for using my poke. Hurts really bad, almost 7,000 damage, which can crit on, you can get 2 per poke. You can get 2 per jabs if you're lucky. Probably not going to happen, but it can happen. And it hits really hard, so basically jabs rip things apart. It gives you your crit buff, slows people, everything you would ever want in a spammable. This is the best spammable ability in the game. And then finally, Ultimate, Dawnbreaker of Smiting. Yeah, I'm holding true to the old ways. Dawnbreaker is the ultimate. I will never take Dawnbreaker off of my Templar again. AoE Burst, AoE Dot, AoE Stun. Extremely powerful. Hit a whole group, knock them down, take away half their health bar, and then watch the dots start ticking away at the rest. Super strong. Love it. It's satisfying. Looks good. Your character screams when you use it. Hard not to love it. But if you don't love it, we'll take a look at some flex options. And by flex options, I mean the only flex option, Onslaught. Onslaught is a beast. It hits extremely hard. Not quite as hard as our Dawnbreaker, but what it does do is go through all armor, so it'll hit harder anyway. And then it gives you pretty much 100% penetration on whoever you've just hit, meaning that your jabs are going to continue to poke through them like paper even more than they already were. Now, the thing that I don't like about Onslaught is that it may be AoE, it may hit hard, and it may give you a big damage buff, but it does not give you that stun. And it also requires a target to cast, meaning that it can miss. And then it just completely negates everything. Even if you miss your initial target with a Dawnbreaker, you might hit 3 or 4 people in the group that he is in and still knock them over and still kill them. If you miss the first guy with Onslaught, you've wasted the whole ult. With Dawnbreaker, you can pull Nightblades out of stealth that are trying to run away. You can knock people over. Who doesn't like to knock people over? It's fun. That's why I like Dawnbreaker better, but you can use Onslaught. If you do, use a sword, not a maul. Flex ults for the back bar. Solar Prison, this is great for group play. It's pretty decent damage while also giving you major maim, making you and your group a lot tankier by reducing enemy damage by a shitload. And it also has this really strong synergy, especially if you have someone in your group running Harmony, looking at you, Magnacros. You could also use Remembrance, which is really good AoE heal over time ult. This is your get out of jail free card if you want it. It also gives you major protection again, making you alone very tanky. And then you also could use Spell Wall. Spell Wall is the most straightforward ult out of all of these. It makes you block everything and reflect projectiles. That's it, that's Spell Wall. I like this one a lot, and if I was going to use any of these other ultimates, it would be Spell Wall. Really good ult. Really good second option. Now, if you don't want to use Reverb as a stun, you do have 2 more options that I would suggest looking into. Binding Javelin would be my first. Binding Javelin hits pretty hard. Does 7k, it's also ranged, and it can again proc that Burning Light, which is another 7k, making this tooltip even bigger than the Reverb, but it's not guaranteed every time. And it also doesn't proc the poison in the same way, and it's a little wonky, it misses a lot. But it does ignore resistance, so that makes it hit really, really hard just by itself. And the fact that it's ranged makes you hit people with it a lot more frequently than you actually try to hit with Reverb, and they're just like an inch too far away and you can't use it. This really negates that. It's a fun skill to use. If you don't feel like you need an execute, you can throw on a Camouflaged Hunter, which gives you your crit buff on your front bar uptime all the time, instead of having to proc jabs for it. So it's nice for turn to burn when you just really need to turn around and slap them with a Dawnbreaker, but you don't want to like just randomly poke first. It also gives you the big boy buff, Minor Berserk, 8% extra damage. That on top of your Caltrops, which if you change stun, you're going to want to put Caltrops right back here, will be 16% because this buff is about 8% damage, so doing a lot of damage. And if you don't want to use Caltrops and be a plebeian, you could use Pierce Armor or the other morph, whatever. I don't like this one as much because it's single target and it does not auto reapply and it is inferior in every way. But yeah, that's an option. And then if you just want to pump up your weapon damage really, really high, you could use Turn Evil as your stun. I don't have Turn Evil leveled because I'm not about that life. I don't like it. I'm not interested in it. In my opinion, if your stun is not hurting people, it's not good enough. So I don't use Fears. But yeah, that's about it for the skills. Let's take a quick look at the consumables that I like to use on this build. Food, I use Artaeum. If you're poor, you could use Dubious, you could use Tri-Food, or you could use Lava Foot and just put some extra points in health. Or, you know, just put those extra 2 Triglyphs on, you should probably be good. Yeah. Essence of Detection. I don't run Camo Hunter on the build usually, so I like to keep these for Nightblades. Tripods, I chug these like water, I guess. Like these are always going down my throat when I'm in a fight. My favorite potion in the game. Extremely useful in pretty much every scenario. Immovability potions for when you've got someone spamming CCs on you and you just want to kill somebody. This will make sure that you don't get knocked over immediately. I recommend getting stunned, waiting out your immunity from stuns, and then popping this just to draw out your burst window even more. But you don't really have to if you don't want to. And these are what I like to call my pussy pots. These are for running away. Not everyone likes to run away, but sometimes we have to come to terms with the fact that we have to every now and then. This makes you turn invisible and run really fast. So if you were able to get away from people just enough to pop a pot without getting pulled out, use these, and you can run away like a little girl. And to wrap it up, we're just going to take a really quick look at the champion point setup on the build. I'm not really going to go over this because, in my opinion, champion points are a preference. And they're not really all that confusing. If you don't understand them, I'd recommend watching a video all about champion points as opposed to listening to me. But yeah, that's them, that's the champion points, and that's the build. That's everything about it. Thank you for staying and watching. I usually throw like a little montage of clips here at the end of gameplay, but I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm saving most of the good clips for a separate video for people that are into that kind of stuff. And instead I'm just going to put one pretty long, nice fight, just so you guys can see the gameplay and see the way that I run the build. And yeah, if you're interested in staying and watching that and seeing the way the build plays, by all means, the clip is here for you. If not, thank you for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed it, hope it helped. And yeah, consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing, maybe clicking the bell. Join me for some adventures in ESO in the future. And without further ado, goodbye.
niggas like to sway. Some young niggas like to swing. Hit bang, take lil' bang. Every day spelling out trash. Want the whole crew, shawty break. When the money talks, what is there to say? Blow away, watch it blow away. When I die, can't take it to the grave.